Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to the course of Morphology and Syntax Basics. It comes under the course code ENGL2119. This course is meant for BS English. This is your instructor Samina Ali Asghar. The topic we are going to discuss today is affixation. Contents we will cover in this lecture include what is an affix, properties of English affixation, types of affixes, derivational processes available in English, suffixes, different types of suffixes including nominal suffixes, verbal suffixes, adjectival suffixes, adverbial suffixes, prefixes and infixation. Affix. Let's first come to know what is an affix. A morpheme that is attached to a word stem to form a new word or word form. In other words, we can say an addition to the base form of a word in order to modify its meaning or create a new word is called affix or affix. There are three main types of affixes: prefix, suffix and prefix. A prefix occurs at the beginning of a word or stem. For example, predetermine. In predetermine, pre is prefix and is used at the beginning of a base form determine. In unwilling, un is prefix which has been added at the beginning of the base form willing in order to get a new meaning which is different from the meaning of the base form willing. Suffix. A suffix is added at the end of a word. In these examples, full and ion are suffixes which has been added at the end of these base forms, and new syntactic categories are derived which are different from the categories of the base forms. For example, wonder. Wonder is a verb, and when morpheme full is added with wonder, we get an adjective. So is the case with dependent. Depend is a verb, and by adding ent, we get an adjective. In case of action, we derive noun from the verb by adding ion. And the last type of affixes which has been mentioned here in this slide is infix. An infix occurs in the middle of a word. General properties of English affixation. Most of these properties are of phonological nature, but they have serious effect on the properties of derived words. When bound morphemes are added at the end of base form, they lead either to the deletion of material at the end of base or to a different stress pattern. For example, the suffixes ens and ik trigger not only the deletion of the last base vowel but also the formation of a consonant cluster, as is evident from these examples. Suffixes are divided into two categories on the basis of their behavior with base words. All suffixes that inflict phonological changes on their base words begin in a vowel. Among the suffixes that do not trigger any changes, there is only one, ish, I-S-H, which begins in a vowel, and all others are consonant initials. On the other hand, prefixes behave differently from the suffixes in this case. They have no effect on the stress patterns of their base words. This slide enlists phonological properties of some suffixes. Suffixes that trigger alternation in the base words when they are added with them include ion, y, l, ik, eyes, us, is. Suffixes that do not trigger alternations are ness, less, full, hood, ship, lee, ish and dumb. As you see in this list, there is only one suffix that starts with vowel. All others are consonant initials, as we discussed in previous slide. Now I will give you brief and sketchy description on some of the affixes. The purpose of this overview is to illustrate the variety of affixational processes available in English. Let's start from suffixes. Nominal suffixes. Nominal suffixes are often implied to derive abstract nouns from verbs, adjectives and nouns. For example, bravery, goodness, wisdom, etc. To derive person nouns of various sorts. For example, teacher, assistant, employee. Age is one of the nominal suffixes. This suffix derives nouns that express an activity or its result, as in coverage, leakage, and nouns denoting a collective entity or quantity, as in voltage and yardage. The meaning can be extended to include locations, as in orphanage. Base words may be verbal or nominal. For example, leak, yard. Leak is a verb and yard is a noun, and most of the base words are monosyllabic. Al. A number of verbs take al to form abstract nouns denoting an action or the result of an action. For example, arrival, renewal. Base words for nominal al all have their mean stress on the last syllable, as we can see in case of arrival. And this suffix forms count nouns referring to persons. For example, applicant, defendant, disclaimant, or to substances involved in biological, chemical, or physical processes. For example, attractant, dispersant, agent. Most of the bases of this suffix are verbs of Latinate origin, as is evident from the examples we have discussed. Applicant, defendant, disclaimant, attractant, dispersant and agent, all of these words, they have the base forms which are verbs. For example, apply, defend, disclaim, attract, disperse, H. Dumb. The suffix dumb is semantically closely related to hood and ship, which express similar concepts. Dumb attaches to nouns to form nominals, which can be paraphrased as state of being X, as in slumdom, O, which refers to collective entities such as professordom, studentdom, or denote domain or territories, as in kingdom, voidom, etc. E. It derives nouns denoting sentient entities. Sentient entities are those entities which are able to experience feelings. Examples imply, biography. The employee denotes someone who is employed. Biography is someone who is the subject of a biography. Verbal bases are most frequent, but nominal bases are not uncommon. We can observe the use of this suffix both with the verb and with the noun. For example, employ and festive. Phonologically, E can be described as an auto-stressed suffix. It belongs to the small class of suffixes that attract the main stress of the derivatives. If base words end in the verbal suffix "ate", the base words are frequently truncated and lose their final rhyme. Ear. This is another person noun forming suffix whose meaning can be paraphrased as person who deals in, is concerned with, or has to do with X. As is evident from the examples, auctioneer, mountaineer. This is also auto-stressed suffix, and it attaches almost exclusively to bases ending in a stressed syllable followed by an unstressed syllable. The suffix can be seen as closely related to E, as its derivatives frequently signify entities that are active participants in an event. For example, teacher, singer, writer. Apart from the performer of an actions, we find instrument names such as blender, mixer, steamer, and nouns denoting entities associated with an activity such as diner, trainer, winner. Furthermore, is used to create person nouns indicating place of origin or residence. New Yorker, New Englander. Is often described as a deverbal suffix, but there are numerous forms that are derived on the basis of nouns. For example, sealer, souther, grader, wheeler. The orthographic variant of this suffix is or. It occurs mainly with Latinate bases which ends in SOT, such as conductor, oscillator, and compressor. Re. Formations in re refer to locations which stand in some kind of connections to what is denoted by the base. More specific meanings such as place where specific activity is carried out, or place where a specific article or service is available. For example, fishery, poultry, bakery. In addition to the locations, derivatives can also denote collectivities. For example, confectionery, cutlery, machinery, or activities as in cemetery means having political summits, or crookery means foul deeds. S. This nominal suffix is used with nouns in order to form nouns which refer exclusively to female humans and animals. For example, princess, lioness, tigress, waitress, full. The nominal suffix full derives mere partitive nouns similar to expressions such as a lot of, a bunch of, and it is attached with nominal base words. For example, cupful, handful, etc. Hood. Similar in meaning to dumb, hood derivatives express concepts such as state, as in adulthood, childhood, farmerhood, and derivatives also express collectivity, as in Christianhood, companionhood. En. Nouns denoting persons and places can take the suffix en. Derivatives seem to have the general meaning persons having to do with X, as in technician, historian, which, where appropriate, can be more specifically interpreted as being from X or being of X origin. For example, Scandinavian, or being the follower or supporter of X, as in Anglican, Chomskyan. Many derivatives are also used as adjectives. Most words belonging to this category are stressed on the syllable immediately preceding the suffix. Ing. Derivatives with this deverbal suffix denote processes, begging, running, sleeping, or it also refers results, building, wrapping, stuffing. This suffix is somewhat different from other derivational suffixes in that it is used as a verbal inflectional suffix forming present participles. This Latinate suffix has three allomorphs. When this suffix is attached to a verb which ends at ify, the verbal suffix and en surface together as ification. For example, personification. When this suffix is attached to a verb which ends at ate, this suffix brings the change in the sound of final consonant of the base verb, and the sound t is converted into sh, as in case of hyphenation, which is derived from hyphenate. And we find the allomorph ation in all other cases. For example, starvation. Phonologically, all en derivatives have their primary stress on the last but one syllable. It means they have stress on the second last syllables. Most of the bases with which this suffix is used belong to the syntactic category of verb. Ism. This suffix forms abstract nouns from other nouns and adjectives. For example, racism from race. The words which are derived by using this suffix express state, condition, attitude, system of beliefs or theory, as in Buddhism, conservatism, racism, Marxism. Ist. This suffix derives nouns denoting persons. For example, balloonist, careerist, minimalist. A balloonist is someone who ascends in a balloon. A careerist is someone who is chiefly interested in his or her career. Bases are mostly nominal and adjectives. For example, in balloonist, the base form is noun. In careerist, base form is career, which is a noun. Whereas in case of minimalist, minimal is the base form, which is an adjective. So most of the base forms with which this suffix is employed are either nouns or adjectives. Et or ity. Words belonging to this morphological category are nouns denoting qualities, states, or properties. For example, curiosity, productivity, profundity, solidity, etc. All adjectives which end in the suffixes able, al, and ik, or in the phonetic string id, they can take it as a nominalizing suffix. It means it suffix can be used with them in order to form nouns. For example, readable is adjective. It can be made noun by adding it, readability. Formal. Formal is adjective and ends at al and can be turned into noun by the addition of the suffix it. Erraticity and solidity, etc. This suffix is capable of changing the stress pattern of the base to the effect that all it derivatives are stressed on the last but two syllable. It means they are stressed on the third last. Meant. This suffix derives action nouns denoting processes or results. Base forms for this suffix are mostly verbs which are either monosyllabic or disyllabic, and they have a stress on the last syllable. For example, assessment. The base form is assess, which is a verb, and we notice stress on the last syllable of the word assess. So is the case with other examples. Endorsement, endorse, involvement, treatment, ness. Quality noun forming ness is perhaps the most productive suffix of English. With regard to potential base words, suffix "ness" is much less restrictive than its close semantic relative "et". It means "ness" is more productive as compared to suffix "et" and can be used with more base words and can produce more words as compared to "et". The suffix can attach to any adjective. It means the base words with which it is used are mostly adjectives, though sometimes noun as the base word of this suffix are also observed. For example, thingness. Ship. The suffix ship forms nouns denoting state or conditions, similar in meaning to derivatives in age, hood and dumb. Base words. The words with which this suffix is mostly used are person, nouns. For example, apprenticeship, clerkship, friendship, membership, etc. The next type of suffixes are verbal suffixes. Suffixes which are used to derive verbs are 4 in numbers. They include ate and ify and is. Ate. The suffix ate is an indicator of verbal status. It is used to form verb from nouns. For example, formate, regulate. Phonologically, ate is largely restricted to attachment to words that end in 1 or 2 unstressed syllables. If the base ends in 2 unstressed syllables, the last syllable is truncated. For example, mercurate from mercury. In other words, the rhyme of the last syllable is deleted to avoid stress lapses. And this verbal suffix attaches to monosyllables that end in plosives, fricatives or affricate sounds. Plosives are those sounds in production of which the airflow is stopped out of the mouth, and fricatives are those sounds which narrow the passage of the air to flow out. So far as affricate are concerned, these sounds have qualities of both plosives and fricatives. While producing of these sounds, the air passage is completely blocked, and after that the air is allowed to release. Most bases are adjectives. For example, blacken, broaden, quicken, ripen. Black, broad, quick and ripe, all these bases are adjectives. But sometimes we also observe nouns to be used as a base of this suffix. For example, strengthen, lengthen. Strength and length are nouns. Ify. This suffix attaches to 3 kinds of base words: 2 monosyllabic words, 2 words stressed on the final syllable, and 2 words stressed on the penult followed by a final syllable ending in unstressed e. Some of the examples include clarify, simplify, rectify, etc. Semantically, IFY shows the same range of meaning as eyes, and those suffixes could therefore be considered phonologically conditioned allomorphs. This verbal suffix attaches primarily to bases ending in an unstressed syllable. For example, hospital, hospitalize. Bases are systematically truncated when this suffix is added with them. That is, they lose the rhyme of the final syllable if they are vowel final and end in two unstressed syllables. For example, memorize from memory. Polysyllabic derivatives in eyes are not allowed to have identical onsets in the last two syllables. If they are unstressed, truncation is used as a repair strategy, as in feminine, feminize, emphasis, emphasize. Adjectival suffixes. The adjectival suffixes of English can be subdivided into two major groups: relational adjectives, qualitative adjectives. The role of relational adjective is simply to relate the noun with adjectives which qualify nouns. For example, algebraic mind means a mind having to do with algebra. On the other hand, qualitative adjective express more specific concept. Sometimes relational adjectives can adopt qualitative meaning, as can be seen with the derivative grammatical, which has a relational meaning having to do with grammar. For example, she is a grammatical genius, but which also has a qualitative sense, meaning conforming to the rules of grammar, as in the sentence, this is a grammatical sentence. Relational adjectives occur only in attributive position. If we find them in predicative position in a clause, it means they have adopted a qualitative sense. Able. This suffix combines with transitive and intransitive verbal bases. Transitive verbs are those verbs which take direct object, whereas intransitive verbs do not take direct object. Examples of verbal bases are deterrable, perishable. This suffix also combines with nouns, as in serviceable, fashionable. The semantics of deverbal able forms seem to involve two different cases: capable of being X, for example, breakable, deterrable, readable, and liable to X, for example, agreeable, changeable, variable. We also find orthographic variants of this suffix in loanwords. For example, able, as is found in following words: comprehensible, discernible, flexible, reversible. This relational suffix attaches almost exclusively to Latinate bases. For example, accidental, colonial, cultural, etc. All derivatives have stress either on their penultimate or antepenultimate syllable. Penultimate means second last syllable or antepenultimate third last syllable. If the base doesn't have its stress on one of the two syllables preceding the suffix, stress is shifted to antepenultimate syllable of the derivative. For example, colonial. There are two variants of this suffix, el and ul. El as in confidential, labial, and ul as in contextual and gradual. With bases ending in s or th, el triggers assimilation of the base final sound to sh. For example, facial, presidential. The distribution of el and ul is not entirely clear, but it seems that the base ending in an or ans and or obligatorily take el, as in circumstantial, professorial. Ary. Again, relational adjective forming suffix ary attaches to nouns as in complementary, evolutionary, fragmentary, etc. We find stress shift only with polysyllabic base nouns ending in ment. For example, complementary, momentary. Full. Adjectival full has a general meaning having x and is typically attached to abstract noun as in beautiful, insightful, purposeful, tactful. But we also find verbal bases forgetful, mournful, resentful. Ing. This verbal inflectional suffix forms present participles which can be used as adjective in attributive position. The grammatical status of a verb suffixed by ing in predicative position is not always clear. In the changing weather, the ing form can be analyzed as an adjective, but in the weather is changing, we should classify it as a verb. In example, the film was boring. We will consider boring as an adjective, though it is in predicative position. Ish. This suffix can attach to adjectives. For example, clearish, freeish, sharpish, and to numerals, 14ish, 340ish. It is also combined with adverbs and syntactic phrases. Examples include soonish, upish, and syntactic phrases stick in the mudish, out of the wayish. When this suffix is attached to noun referring to human beings, the derivatives can be paraphrased as of the character of X or like X. For example, childish. If this suffix forms adjectives from Latinate verbs and bound roots that end in t or s sound. For example, connect. This ends with t sound. Connective, explode, explosive, fricate, fricative, offend, offensive. Some nominal bases are also attested, as in instinctive, massive. There is no stress shift, but a number of systematic base alternation can be seen. For example, if a base form ends in d sound, this sound is converted into s when this suffix is added with the base form. For example, conclude. Conclude, the ending sound of this base form is d, but when we will add if suffix with this base form, this d will be converted into s. Conclude, conclusive. Adjectival suffix less can be seen as an antonym to full. Its meaning can be paraphrased as without X. For example, expressionless, hopeless, speechless, thankless. Lee. This suffix is attached with noun to get adjective. Common types of derivatives have bases which denote person nouns. For example, brother, as in brotherly, daughter, as in daughterly, fatherly, father. Temporal concepts: half-hourly, monthly. Bases also indicate directions. For example, easterly, southwesterly. Adjectival suffix us. This suffix derives adjectives from nouns and bound roots. For example, curious, cure, famous, synonymous, tremendous. Like derivatives in al, which we have discussed earlier, us formation are stressed either on the penultimate or on the anti-penultimate syllable, with stress being shifted there. We also find different variants of this suffix. For example, yes as in Irenaeus, yes as in gracious, and one more which is observed in ambiguous. Adverbial suffixes. Ly. We have already discussed ly as an adjectival suffix, and now we will discuss it as an adverbial suffix. Both adjective and adverb are derived by attaching ly with base words. Adding ly to the end of an adjective turns the word into an adverb. For example, short and hard are adjective. When we add "ly" with short, it becomes an adverb. So is the case with hardly. "Ly" is added with hard in order to make an adverb. In a few words, the meaning may change. For example, shortly, hardly, and dryly. They are semantically distinct from their base words. Wise. This suffix derives adverbs from nouns with two distinguishable subgroups: manner or dimension adverb and viewpoint adverbs. The former adverb type has the meaning "in the manner of X" or "like X." For example, the cone can be sliced lengthwise. In this example, lengthwise is manner adverb. Another example is cut X crosswise. The second type of adverb, which is derived by adding wise, is viewpoint adverb. It is made up of adverbs whose meaning can be rendered as "with respect to." They make no special demand. Food-wise and status-wise, you are at a disadvantage. Here, food-wise and status-wise are viewpoint adverbs. Another type of affixes is prefix. The prefixes of English can be classified semantically into the following groups. Quantifying prefixes. They quantify over their base word's meaning. For example, uni means one, as in unilateral unification. Bi means twice or two, as in bilateral bifurcation. Multi means many, as in multipurpose. Second, there are numerous locative prefixes such as circum means around, as in circumscribe. Endo means internal to X, as in endocentric. Epi means on or over, as in epiglottis. Third, there are temporal prefixes expressing notions like before, after, new. For example, anti, pre, and for. All these three prefixes indicate the meaning before. For example, predetermine, anti-penultimate, post-modern, and new classical. A fourth group consists of prefixes expressing negation: de, dis, in, non, as in disobey, unable, dethrone, etc. There are many prefixes which do not fit into any of the four groups we have discussed now. They express diverse notions such as wrong, evil, malnutrition, badly, wrongly, means misinterpret, and they also convey the meaning of false, deceptive, as in pseudo. The vast majority of prefixes do not change the syntactic category of their base words. They only act as a modifier. It can also be observed that they attach to more than one kind of syntactic category, including verbs, adjectives, or nouns, and do not influence the stress pattern of their This prefix occurs in Latinate adjectives and expresses the notion of without what is referred by the nominal base or not x, as in achromatic means without color, ahistorical, asymmetrical. Anti. This polysemous prefix can express two different but related notions. For example, anti-war, anti-scientific, anti-freeze. It can be paraphrased as against or opposing. Another type of denominal antiderivatives are nouns which denote something like the opposite of an x or not having the proper characteristics of an x, as in anti-hero, one who does not have the proper characteristic of hero. Anti-particle, anti-professor. D. This prefix attaches to verbs and nouns to form reversative or privative verbs. Reversative prefix refers to the reversal of something. For example, decolonize, dethrone, deselect, etc. The next prefix is dis. Closely related semantically to prefixes un and d, this prefix forms reversative verbs from the verbal basis. For example, disassemble, disassociate, discharge, disconnect. Apart from the deriving reversative verbs, this prefix offers the possibility to negate the base verbs. For example, disagree means not agree, disobey meaning not obey, dislike means not like. This also occurs in lexicalized adjectives with the meaning not x, as in dishonest means not honest, dispassionate means not passionate, etc. In this negative prefix is found with Latinate adjectives. It conveys the negative meaning not, as incomprehensible, inactive, intolerable, etc. Miss. This prefix, which is the modifier of verb and nouns, conveys the meaning inaccurate or wrong, as is evident from these examples: mispronounce, which is pronounced wrongly; misreport means inaccurate report. The prefix is either unstressed or secondarily stressed. Un. Un is another prefix. It can attach to verbs, adjectives, and sometimes nouns to give a reversative or privative meaning. Reversative and private meaning refers to reversal of something. For example, unbind, uncork, unsaddle, unwrap, unwind. It also negates simple and derived adjectives, as is shown in following examples: unreadable, unhappy, unsuccessful. In these examples, readable and successful are derived adjectives, whereas happy is simple adjective. Nouns which we observe with un express the meaning absence of X. For example, unbelief, unrepair, unease. We also find a meaning which are very similar to the one observed with prefixes anti and non, not having the proper characteristics of X. Here are some examples: uncelebrate, unevent. These are the examples which have been found in the BNC, British National Corpus. Infixation. The last type we will discuss about the types of affixation is infix. Morphologists usually agree that English has no infixes. Suffixation and prefixation are very common, whereas infixation is a marginal and extremely restricted phenomenon in English word formation. There is the possibility of inserting expletives in the middle of a word to create new words expressing the negative attitude of the speaker. For example, kangaroo. By insertion bloody in kangaroo, it becomes kanga bloody roo. So is the case with absolutely, abso blooming lutely. These are the types of infixation, as the elements or the constituents have been inserted within word. Thus we could say that English has a process of infixation of some words, but there are no bound morphemes that qualify for infix status. To sum up, in this lecture we have looked at types of affixes, including prefix, suffix, and infix. We have also discussed characteristics of English affixation, showing that important generalizations can be stated on the basis of phonological makeup of affixes. Another thing we have focused in this lectures include derivational patterns available in the lecture. Students, here are some of the sources. You may consult them for further detail. Thanks.